Hey everyone, Nick here from another BookTube channel, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about Ray Bradbury. I love Ray Bradbury. He's one of my favorite authors. I started reading him with Fahrenheit 451, which still is probably amongst my favorite books of all time. It's just absolutely fantastic. Since then, I've read Something Wicked This Way Comes, The Martian Chronicles, The Illustrated Man, October Country, just anything that is still in print that's by him. I've read it and I've loved it. But there was a new Ray Bradbury book that came out recently that completely slipped by me. It was not on my radar at all. And if it wasn't for cartoonist Kayfabe, that YouTube channel, doing a video on this book, I probably would have never even known it existed. If you love Ray Bradbury too, you really need to buy this. And that's Home to Stay, the complete EC stories of Ray Bradbury. While Bradbury didn't write comics, he did love comics, and comics loved him right back, particularly EC comics, because they were able to take his stories, change them enough so that he wouldn't notice, and publish them to create a successful line of magazines. Eventually, Bradbury did catch on to what they were doing, and rather than take them to court, he wrote them a very polite letter explaining, hey, you accidentally forgot to pay me for those stories, so here's your chance to rectify that. And also, you're welcome to use more of my stories in the future if you pay me for those as well. And what that led to was a long stretch of comics that were adapting Ray Bradbury stories with some phenomenal artists like Wallace Wood, Al Williamson, Jack Kamen, Jack Davis, Bernie Krigstein. And all of these stories are collected in this oversized volume. So I'm going to put this down on the table here. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to show you some of the interiors. Hopefully, if you're a Bradbury fan, you get a real kick out of it. All right, so let's take a look inside this thing. It's a really nicely put together book. Fantagraphics did a great job with it. It's oversized. Here's a regular size comic book, just to give you a little bit of a size comparison. So a bit bigger. It's not, I don't think it's the full size up of the original art, but it is definitely oversized so you can appreciate the art a bit more. End papers are really great. It's like a really good, like the artist editions usually are. There's a great panel blown up showing the end papers off. So this one, no exception. Some more blown up art at the beginning. And we've got here our table of contents, where this is basically breaking down sequentially over the years the order in which the stories appeared, the names of the stories as they appeared in EC Comics, as well as what they were based on. So there are stories here from Dark Carnival, such as The Lake, The Small Assassin. There's also things called Dark Carnival Variations, which are, these are stories that take the Ray Bradbury stories and just kind of, remix them a little bit and do their own thing, mostly to try to get around the fact that they were, they were hiding that they were taking these stories from Ray without permission. And then, of course, here, just the rest of them. So we got stuff from The Martian Chronicles, stuff from Illustrated Man, just other, general adaptations as well. There's also some really good introductions in here. This is an article or an intro about from Greg Bear about Ray Bradbury and just his friendship with him over the years, and how Ray would tell him stories about how he loved comic books, and he actually went to San Diego Comic-Con, like the first San Diego Comic-Con, and continued to go there for pretty much his entire life until he was no longer able to. And he would frequently tell the story about how he became involved with EC Comics on an official capacity. This intro here by Ben Sanders, Love and Theft, When Ray Met Bill and Al. This is talking about how Bill Gaines and Al Feldstein, they began the process of taking Ray Bradbury stories and remixing them. Their goal in the beginning was to take like one aspect of the story, like the ending, and then just kind of make up their own story to precede that, to get to that ending. They were hoping that it would be different enough from the original story that Ray would not notice. And they got away with it for a while. It wasn't until 1952 that Ray caught on. And that's when Ray sent this letter to the EC offices. And I mean, the story is very funny. It's kind of legendary at this point. But basically, Ray sent them a letter saying, "Hey, I just want to let you know about an oversight. You haven't yet paid me the $50 to cover the copyright rights for Rocket Man and Kaleidoscope, which are two stories that you used in your weird science fantasy magazines. So, just send that over whenever you get the chance. And, we don't have to get lawyers involved in this." And he added a PS on the bottom here saying, if you would like to, essentially make this official and you would like to continue to use my work in the future, let's work something out. We could do something that's mutually beneficial. So Ray, I believe at the time, he would say he didn't even have the money for lawyers. So it probably wouldn't have gotten to that point anyway. So he did what he thought was in the best interest of both parties, which is offer to continue the relationship, but let's make it official now. Stop stealing from me, essentially. All right, I just wanted to show off some of the actual art of the stories on the interior. This story here, this is a really great one. This is There Will Come Soft Rains. That's adapted by Al Feldstein and drawn by Wallace Wood. Wally Wood is an incredible comic artist, and this is no exception here. I love this first panel here, this opening, the kind of widescreen panel, the very stark silhouettes here. This is, if you're not aware of the story, there's been basically I'm going to say probably a nuclear disaster, or at least just some kind of devastating event that has wiped out this town. But this house is still standing, and it's a futuristic house that's like fully automated. So it makes breakfast on its own. It has, self-cleaning, devices, stuff like that. So even after the bomb has dropped, the house is continuing to go through its functions. And in this first panel here, we're seeing the remnants of that bomb going off, of the family who were in their yard. And once the blast went, the side of the house was, coated in soot, except for the outlines of the family and the activities that they were doing, like mowing the lawn and throwing the ball. But this is really great artwork. I mean, this is very impressive by Wally Wood, considering there are no human beings in this. It's all just machinery and like the house doing actions. There is a mangy dog that shows up, so there is some life. But it's mostly him just putting down interesting angles of the house, interesting technology, using Zipatone to create depth. It's a really, really great story, and it's really well rendered by him. Another one by Wally Wood. This is the story that they named the collection after, Home to Stay. This is, I believe, the story that Ray Bradbury caught on to, because this is very basically, this is Rocket Man. And it's pretty clear that it's Rocket Man. And I absolutely love all of this, all of the backgrounds. I mean, and a lot of these stories in EC Comics, the background art is just as beautiful as the foreground art. It's so impressive. And Wally Wood, I mean, really, he's one of the best like good girl artists that have ever done it. His pinup work is incredible. If you've ever looked at some of his underground stuff, some of his not safe for work comics that he's drawn, like Sally Forth, he was just incredible, and he gets to show that off here. He's, again, great with costumes and detail there. You get to see some of his trademark, double lighting that's creating stark shadows, but, lighting on one side of the face, lighting on the other side of the face. Very impressive story. Very beautiful. This one right here is probably one of the most famous adaptations of Ray Bradbury's stories in EC Comics. This is A Sound of Thunder. This is artwork by Al Williamson with assists by Angelo Torres and Roy Krenkel. Al Williamson was just a phenomenal artist. I mean, look at the drapery on this arm here. I mean, all of the wrinkles and folds that just make perfect sense. Like there's nothing here that seems superfluous or out of place. Um, you know, and even going so far as to put so much texture on this chair, he could have just had that be a solid white chair, but he chose to, add all this design in there just to add more in there. I mean, I want to say, that could have been Krenkel or Torres giving some extra life to the drawing. I don't know, but it's certainly indicative and something that you see in Al Williamson's work a lot. And I'll skip ahead here to the most famous sequence in the book, which is the dinosaur attack and the men who have gone back in time. This is the famous story about the beating of a butterfly's wings, affecting the future, and these men going back in time for a safari to hunt, a dinosaur. And this is the scene of them, taking him down, and it's really awesome. You can see there's a lot of text here. This is very much the style of comics in the 50s, just huge blocks of text. What would happen is the writer would they would put in the text first. So when an artist received the actual blank canvas, for lack of a better word, all of the text would already be in there already, and they had to basically draw around the text to make it work. Not ideal for, I imagine, the artists who probably wanted a little bit more room to breathe, but it's why you see so many rigid, 9 panel or 6 panel structures in these comics. In this one case, we're using a kind of a 9 panel layout, and they have to just do their best with the space available, and they do a great job. I mean, there's all these backgrounds, everything. It's so well drawn. Love this panel here. The bottom left, that incredible underlighting on his face, but again, more double lighting on the side there. Oh, it's so good. And they've also reprinted here some of the covers for some of these comic books. A few of them are really famous. This one's definitely a Wally Wood. Yeah, that's Wallace Wood. That's absolutely. This one's Johnny Craig. These are some of the magazines where these stories appeared. This is an extremely famous cover by Al Williamson, Weird Science Fantasy 25. This is where A Sound of Thunder first appeared. This one's Al Feldstein doing the artwork. This is a really nice one too. I like the skeletons falling out of the spaceship. Again, really great just detail of the moss coming off the ship. These are some Frank Frazetta pieces, which are really cool. I had never seen these before. These are covers of some Bradbury just paperback books. There's a cover for The Autumn People and Tomorrow Midnight. This is the Autumn People artwork original, without the text overlaid on it. Same here. These are cover recreations of the ones we just saw. So yeah, that's really quick a look through Home to Stay. If you're a comic fan, this is definitely something you're going to want to have. If you're not a comic fan, but you're a Ray Bradbury fan, this is a really awesome artifact. It's a part of his history that you don't hear about a lot. He loved comic books, and he really liked these stories. Clearly, the fact that he actually continued on working with them even after he found out that they were essentially ripping him off. So I highly recommend this. This is another great end paper, by the way. Look at this. See, this is also indicative. This was the 50s, and these comics were considered, a bit transgressive, because they dealt with things like murder and stuff like that. But you still couldn't really show anything. You could only get away with so much. So all of these people, you could tell they're dead, but they've got the heads completely hidden, so that nothing too graphic is being shown. This is such an awesome panel. So there you go. That's a little bit of a look inside Home to Stay, the Ray Bradbury EC Comics collection. I hope you like it. I hope you check this book out. It's really, really well done. I think you're really going to love it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, all that stuff. Thank you for spending some time with me today. But now, it's time to get back to reading.